to today's rate hearing. This is the Manhattan rate hearing. It's the fifth of our 5 public hearings on the proposed water and sewer rates that will take effect if adopted on July 1st, 2025. I have with me up here today representatives from DEP as well as the Water Board. We have our Executive Director of the Board and DEP's Financial Officer, Bruce Jose, the board members, Adams Lee and Daniel Zogili. We have our Borough Commissioner, Manny Fitzhugh. Did I get that?
Martin Fitzhugh,
Martin Fitzhugh. And of course, Omar Nazem, the Water Board's treasurer. And for today's purposes, the public hearing officer. I'd like to thank the Office of Management and Budget for making this facility available to us. We have a lot of our meetings here. The OFB has always been welcoming and hospitable to us. I want to flag the meeting is being recorded. We'll be making a video recording of the meeting available on the board's website later today. There is also a set of official documents and records related to the meeting up here. I will describe the contents of the folder. There's a notice appointing me the hearing officer. There are verified copies of the public notices announcing this meeting. There's a draft rate schedule and draft billing policy and regulations that are adopted and will take effect on July 1st. There's the public information booklet, which we call the Blue Book, that describes the events of the agency over the last year, the affordability impact, the proposed rate change, and there are copies of written testimony received by the board so far. All of this information, particularly the Blue Books and the proposed rate changes, is available on the board's website, nyc.gov/nyc1. The program today will follow the format of previous hearings and previous years. There will be a presentation by our Executive Director describing what's happened over the last year, as well as the rate proposal. There will be a second section of the hearing where the public have a chance to provide verbal comments, testimony, and overall feedback on the proposed rate change. The hearing is designed to give the board members the information they need to make an informed decision when they vote on the budget rates for next year. The format is not a debate format, so we generally not engage with comment. You're here to listen, take notes, and everything said today will be transmitted with video as well as transcription forms to all the board members prior to the vote on the budget rates. If you would like to provide a board testimony but haven't been able to speak today, if you would like to provide testimony today and are happy to speak today and have not yet registered, you can do so by speaking to one of our representatives back in the room. If you would like to provide testimony today but don't wish to speak, do so by emailing us at nycwaterboard@tdp.nyc.gov. Call us at 718-595-3591. You can send us written correspondence to 5917 Junction Boulevard, New York, Flushing, New York, 11337. With that, I'm going to hand the microphone to our Executive Director, Ms. Ray, who will lead the presentation.
Hello. Thank you, Omar, and welcome everyone today. As Omar mentioned, my name is Narissa Murray. I am the Chief Financial Officer of the Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, and the Executive Director of the Water Board. I'd like to thank you all for coming today to these important hearings where we'll talk about the rates for the coming year, fiscal year 2026. I'm actually realizing I don't have the clicker.
I can flip slides for you.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. So today we will, today in terms of the agenda, we'll go through a little bit of the history of the last year at DEP and a forward look at our budget for the year. We'll talk about the rate proposal, talk a little bit about our affordability programs, and then the schedule for the rest of the week. So next slide. Thank you. So we just wanted to start out by noting again the sort of scale of DEP's operations. So each day we're delivering 1 billion gallons of drinking water to over 10 million New Yorkers, including 9 million here in New York City. This comes down from the Catskill Mountains for the Delaware watershed. We take then the results of that drinking water and we take them away for you. We treat over $1.3 billion of wastewater daily. That's sewage and wastewater, but also, of course, stormwater that's falling here in the city. Combined, our labs test more than 600,000 water quality samples every year, and we're very proud of the work we've been doing, especially on water quality, seeing the quality of the water in our harbor greatly increase. Some of the cleanest water we've had in over 100 years, and a return of marine life into our waters, which is very exciting. We also have a really unique asset footprint. We're the largest combined water and wastewater utility in North America. Our drinking water comes from 19 reservoirs and 3 controlled lakes upstate through some of the longest aqueducts in the world. Inside the city, we maintain 7,000 miles of water mains and 109,000 fire hydrants. We also look after 150,000 catch basins, 16,000 pieces of green infrastructure, like rain gardens, green medians, or porous pavement. We have 7,500 miles of sewer pipes, and of course 14 wastewater resource recovery facilities here in the city. So how do we fund all this? Next slide, please. This extensive system, both our physical assets and the staff who operate and maintain the system, this is paid for by the proceeds of our water and wastewater system customer bills. So the vast majority of our revenue is not coming from city tax levy or from the federal or state government, it's coming from you, from our customers. That's why it's so important that everyone pays their full share. It means we can keep water rates low. Your payments are what allow us to do our job. So if we look ahead, next slide please, at the budget for this coming year, want to sort of take you through that a bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about what that's paying for newly. So this upcoming fiscal year, the projected expenses for the system, which is the overall budget for the utility, is projected at $4.6 billion. This pays for the operations of the system, and it also pays for the investment in our infrastructure. DEP is the system operator, and the DEP operations and maintenance budget is the largest component of the budget. You can see here for fiscal 26, it's estimated at $2 billion. The next is capital investments. So these are the investments to build and execute large-scale upgrades to our infrastructure assets. This is the second largest cost. It's constituted by the capital debt we pay on bonds for the existing projects that we have. So you can see this year that's $1.9 billion. As well as paying for most of our debt through through municipal bonds. We also do pay for some of this construction through cash payments. That helps us keep future debt low. And you can see this year that's $225 million. A small amount of the budget also funds the costs of the water board, which is the entity that leases the system, that sets the rates and also collects the revenue, and also the water authority, which is the legal entity that executes our municipal bonding. And then finally, we have a component of the budget, which is the rental payment to the City of New York. This year, that's $304 million. This is akin to a payment in lieu of property taxes or a similar type of expense that most municipal utilities pay to their local government. So altogether, that constitutes our look forward to this year's budget. Before I tell you a little bit more about what that budget would pay for, I would like to talk a little bit about the revenue side of the balance sheet. So, Omar, can we have, thank you, next slide. So we're very happy to say that we've had a particularly strong revenue collection year. This is, in fact, one of the strongest financial years we've ever had, helped by the strength of the city economy and a wide range of DEP customer service collection initiatives, as well as the city's tax lien program. Welcome, Commissioner. So some of the highlights of our work include the work to bring customers with outstanding debt into payment agreements. So as of the end of last month, actually at the end of April, nearly 25% of our customer accounts with outstanding debt are now in a payment agreement. That's up from just 9% 2.5 years ago. So it represents a really significant increase of the amount of debt that we have in payment agreements with customers, $250 million secured in the last few years. We've also been very active with water shutoffs. We started this in 2024, but also continued this year into 2025. That's resulted in over $18 million worth of payments collected, as well as $21 million worth of payment in payment agreements with customers. And then finally, last but not least, the City Council helped to authorize a new lien sale for this year. That's just concluding this week. Actually, the final deadline is this Friday. With that lien sale we authorized, we managed to collect over $180 million worth of debt and secured another $130 million in payment agreements as of last week. So this revenue strength allowed us to bring this year's rate down, lower than it was originally forecast. We're very happy to be able to talk about that today. The additional revenue, of course, can also support additional investment in the system, or it can be retained within the system to pay off future debt as well. So having talked a little bit about the revenue side, let's look again a little bit more at some of the activities that we're paying for in the upcoming year. So our operations and maintenance budget funds the cost of staff and the operations of our many facilities for our core water and wastewater services. So some of the examples of the new and expanded O&M core function or also strategic investments include some of the items that are listed here today. So one of them, for example, is cybersecurity. Our industry is facing an ever increased threat in this area, and so we are constantly investing in preventative measures around cybersecurity. We're also investing consistently in information technology. This is an area that can help make the business more efficient, whether it's sensors installed on mechanical equipment or inside the pipes to look at how our distribution system is functioning. We're constantly looking for ways to make our operations more efficient in this way. We also invest in land management in the watershed. That protects the quality of our drinking water, but it also helps us reduce our treatment costs here in the city. And we're also continuously executing maintenance at many of our upstate facilities, as well as those here in the city. This includes, for example, maintenance of the Delaware Aqueduct project that's been going on for the last 3 years just north of the city. One of the things I also want to mention is just generally the economy and the pace of inflation of the last few years post-COVID has also really impacted us. So a lot of these investments listed are strategic, but also just core operations have been hit very significantly with inflation in the last few years. Moving on to pieces that are a little bit more exciting. On the capital improvement plan, the capital investment side, we're really pleased to say that we have a $33.3 billion capital budget. This is representing the largest investment in the city's water assets in the history of the agency. You can see that the investment is balanced across the portfolio. We have $9 billion in water supply and distribution, almost $9 billion in sewers, and almost $14 billion in water pollution control. This $33 billion budget includes a new investment of $3.8 billion just announced in the last executive budget and soon to be adopted budget for the city. And that $3.8 billion includes investments in water quality projects, both for federal and state mandates, but also for state of good repair of our assets. It includes flood control projects such as pump station upgrades and cloudburst projects. It also includes infrastructure upgrades to support rezoning initiatives to support the development of new housing here in New York City. Moving on to highlight some of the work that we're doing that benefits all New Yorkers. The first is just highlighting 3 of our really major projects happening upstate and bringing drinking water into the city. So the first is a really large investment, $1.8 billion at our Hillview Reservoir. This is the last reservoir in the system that collects waters from all areas of the system and then disperses down into the city. We have a major improvement project underway here that will positively upgrade equipment as well as water treatment systems and also our protection of the reservoir. We have a $1.9 billion project working on the Kensico Reservoir to connect that to our water treatment plant, and also $575 million to construct the final shafts of our Water Tunnel 3 project, which has been a long-term extension to the conveyance of water from the final reservoirs down through to Brooklyn and to Queens. Here in Manhattan, we highlight a few projects for you. We have almost $600 million worth of investments in our North River and in our Wards Island wastewater resource recovery facilities. These are projects such as upgrading electric systems, but also electrical systems which actually help to improve the air quality, and as you can note here on the North River facility up in Harlem, but also just general upgrades to equipment and state of good repair for those 2 plants. A really nice project is the one here in the photo below. It's $2 million to install the green infrastructure in the school in the Corliers complex. This is done in partnership with the Trust for Public Land and turned a hardened sort of playground scape, you can see here, into a porous water catching facility. So moving on from those sort of highlights of the activities we're doing, let's turn to the rate proposal itself. This year, DEP is recommending a 3.7% rate increase for fiscal year 2026. As you can see, this is the lowest rate increase in the last 4 years, and as I mentioned, it's been made possible in part by the very strong revenue collections we've had this year. This year's rate in fiscal 2025 was 8.5%, and originally the fiscal 26 rate was also anticipated to be approximately the same. But the strong revenue collections has allowed us to pay some of that back to customers and bring the rate down to 3.7%. It means our 10-year average increased below 3%, despite the high inflation of the last few years. I mentioned the revenue collections. You can see here, when we made these slides, we were at $347 million collected above plan. As of this morning, I believe we're at $353 million, so very significant. The 3.7% proposal is comparable or lower than a lot of other utilities updates here in the city, and it's also comparable to other cities or favorable to other cities around North America. Next slide, please. So what will this mean actually for the average customer? You can see here in the table with 3.7% water rate increase proposed, a typical single-family homeowner will see an increase from approximately $1,181 to $1,224 a year. So that's about $3.60 per month. For multifamily units with metered billing, they would see an $877 to $909 per year per unit increase. So that's about $2.67. You can also see that there's no change proposed, specifically no increase proposed for the minimum charge for low water use properties. So that would stay at $463 per year. As I mentioned, if we go to the next slide, please, Omar. As I mentioned, this does compare favorably to other cities. We look at about 30 other peer cities around the country, and as you can see here in the table on the right, we're tracking still almost 19% below those peer cities. You can see in the left-hand column, we're below the average annual charge and compare very favorably to cities that actually have water systems a lot similar to our own, such as San Francisco. These other peer cities are seeing increases to their rates of an average of about 5 to 6% this year across the board. So at 3.7%, we're considerably lower than some of these peer utilities around the country. Along with the rate increase, we are proposing a series of other improvements to our policies and operations, which I hope will be welcomed by customers. Omar mentioned there's a lot of this detail to be found in the materials online if you'd like to read about it in more detail. But fundamentally, these changes are made to help save money for customers or make our programs more accessible or more flexible for customers. So here are 3 examples in particular. We have a program by which customers can actually install their own water meters at their property, but we haven't had a chance to update the amount of money reimbursed for those since 2010. So you can imagine there's quite a lot of change in the market in those last 15 years. And so we have a proposed 55% increase in the reimbursement that would be paid to customers who do this installation on their own. We're also providing customers with longer warning times and more time to correct issues before we charge penalties. And then we're streamlining and making more flexible the terms for our leak forgiveness program and our meter bill cap program. These are programs that help customers with higher than usual water bills, where the cause of that use is corrected by the customer or in fact the use was not due to the fault of the customer. So we're trying to make it easier for customers to access those programs. Next slide, please. We're also making changes to allow for customers facing a water shutoff to be able to obtain a medical exemption, not only from a physician, but also from a physician's assistant, to allow for more flexibility, and also allowing those medical exemptions to remain in effect for a longer period of time. Finally, we're also changing our denial of access fee. It is increasing from $250 to $250 to $500, but now we'll allow it to be fully refundable. So as long as we can get into the property, we can do the work we're trying to do, we can either, we're happy to refund all of that money back to the customer instead of keeping it, because we just ask for your help for access. Last but not at all least, we're particularly pleased to be able to end with an update on our customer affordability programs, and in particular our flagship programs, the Home Water Assistance Program, or the HWAP program, and the Multifamily Water Assistance Program, or the MWAP program. We have a $26 million budget for these two programs, which will be reauthorized for fiscal year 26. But our proposed amendments are going to ensure that all those funds are credited to customers each year. So with a rebalancing of the funds, in specific, we're able to increase the HWAP credit to $159 per year. That's almost a 10% increase on the credits that we're going to be paying to customers on their bills. For the MWAP program, this is traditionally a program that has been oversubscribed, and so we haven't been able to enroll as many customers as who apply to it. For this program, the change here will allow us to extend it to an additional 20,000 affordable residential units to reach a total of 65,000 units. So we hope that's going to be a very welcome addition for the affordable housing providers throughout the city. Our multifamily conservation program, which is the program that provides a fixed annual per apartment rate for building owners who have meters and also water efficiency fixtures, that will be reauthorized again for fiscal year 26. And the leak forgiveness program that I mentioned just before also will continue in fiscal 26, although, as I mentioned, with more flexible terms than we've had in the past. So finally, just again to reiterate the timing, first of all, again, just to mention the Borough Commissioners, we have Marty here with us today. We're proud to say we have Borough Commissioners now in place for all 5 of the boroughs. They're here helping support our operations, talking with folks day to day with problems, customers that are having in the field or with other stakeholders. So please, feel free to reach out to Marty and to his colleagues around the city. If you would like to get in touch with us, they're always there to help refer you to further resources within the agency. As Omar mentioned, we can go to the next slide. To summarize, the proposed rate increase is 3.7%, which would begin July 1st, 2025. This is our last public hearing, as Omar mentioned, and then the board meeting and the vote is this Friday, June the 6th, 8:30 a.m., here again in OMB offices in Manhattan. If you'd like to join us for that. As Omar mentioned, you can provide us testimony, comments, or questions in one of 3 different ways. One is via email, nycwaterboard@dep.nyc.gov. The second is by phone, 718-595-3591, or by mail, 5917 Junction Boulevard, 8th floor, Flushing, New York, 11373. We do have a list of the hearings, but on the last page, but I believe since this is our last hearing, this is the last on the list. And then again, the vote will be this coming Friday morning here in the same room. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
We have one registered speaker, Michael DuLong from Riverkeeper. I assume that's you? Let me bring your microphone.
I got it, Omar. No, it's wherever.
Hi everyone, thank you for holding this hearing, for the opportunity to testify today, and for everything that you're doing to provide water and sewer services for New Yorkers.
Is this microphone on?
not. Can you hear me? It's working.
I was working out? Okay.
And thank you for decorating the room for us today. It's great. My name is Mike Dulong. I'm a legal program director with Hudson River Keeper. We are a nonprofit environmental organization dedicated to protecting the Hudson River from source to sea through community partnerships, science, and law. We are a signatory of the 1997 New York City Watershed Memorandum of Agreement. And we do a lot of work to get involved with long-term control planning and sewer infrastructure planning in New York City. So we are very familiar with the expense side of the equation for New York City. Therefore, we support the rate increase. There's a great need for water and sewer infrastructure improvement here. According to DEP, the reported capital improvement plan for the next 25 years is going to require $63.57 billion. And that figure is coming from the Harlem River Usability Analysis.
Somebody on the, they're having a hard time hearing you. Is it?
Should I speak louder?
Can you come on the microphone?
Sure. But that one's too light.
This one was working.
Yeah, this one's
Why
better.
don't we try that?
Yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
move on.
Bring it a little closer.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you for not starting the clock. So that's $63.57 billion is much better. The capital improvement plan over the next 25 years, that figure is coming from the Harlem River Usability Analysis. The conclusion of that analysis is that after those funds are paid, $63.57 billion, there will be nothing left over to do any more for the Harlem River, which is currently receiving 1.9 billion gallons of raw sewage and polluted stormwater every single year. So you're leaving the residents who are living in northern Manhattan and the Bronx behind. They're going to continue to receive that polluted stormwater and sewage for our lifetimes. And that cannot be the case, where New Yorkers are already paying what you reported as 19% less than the average of other major cities across the nation. So, of course, we support the rate increase. With the rate increase comes affordability concerns, and I appreciate the new improvements to those programs that you already have. Those are great, but the water rate, the structure, is still woefully out of date. And we have been calling for a long time for improvements or the implementation of a lifeline rate combined in some combination with an income-based rate, as well as a separate stormwater charge. We are still waiting on the Sustainable Rate Structure Analysis, the SRSA, that was promised a long time ago. We are hoping that as part of your approval of any rate change that you will make it a requirement that DEP release that study. We understand that it's done, or very near to done, and so we hope to see that report in July. Now, with respect to the stormwater fee, DEP has been speaking out of both sides of its mouth for a long time. DEP is claiming that it isn't sure whether it has authority to collect funds for stormwater, to manage stormwater alone, as opposed to where stormwater and sewage are combined. Meanwhile, it is already collecting and spending funds in the MS4 area on only stormwater. So the DEP, the Water Board, are taking on significant legal liability in doing that. And last, I just want to say that the rental payment is a travesty. Given the need, the great infrastructure needs for the city, taking $304 million just this year is unconscionable. That figure is going to fall on future generations with interest. So we urge you to request that the mayor forego that payment. And if denied, we urge that you direct DEP to conduct a study of what it would do with those funds if they remained in the water rate budget. I think the residents on the Harlem River in northern Manhattan and in the Bronx would like to know. So thank you very much again for everything that you're doing, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak today? Hearing no one, seeing no one, that concludes our public hearing for today. The board will be back in this room on Friday, June 6th at 8:30 to vote on the proposed rates and budgets. Thank you for attending today.